I was sitting at the kitchen table, staring at the college acceptance email on my phone, when my mom said the sentence that changed everything. "Emma, family comes first. You'll understand when you're older." Then she slid a folder across the table. Inside was the statement for my college fund, the account my parents had been bragging about since I was 6. The balance was 0. That was the exact moment I decided my brother's wedding would never happen the way they imagined. My name is Emma, I'm 18, and I grew up in a small suburb outside of Denver, Colorado. My family looks perfect from the outside. My dad's an accountant, my mom runs a home decor business on Instagram, and my older brother Jason is the golden child who could apparently do no wrong. And then there's me. The responsible one, the quiet one, the she'll be fine on her own one. Growing up, I always heard one story about money, my college fund. My parents would tell everyone, we started saving the day she was born. Our girl is going to college debt-free. It wasn't just talk. Every birthday check from grandparents, every Christmas card with $20 in it, every little deposit my parents made when things were good, all of it went into that account. By the time I was a senior, it was around $40,000. Enough to cover tuition at the state university if I worked part-time and got some scholarships. Enough to mean I didn't have to drown in loans like so many other kids. I applied to the University of Colorado, wrote my heart out on the essays, and when that acceptance email came, I cried. Not because I got in, I was pretty confident about that part, but because I thought, I can actually afford this. I'm safe. I had no idea my safety was already gone. Jason, on the other hand, floated through life like the rules were suggestions he could ignore if he smiled hard enough. He switched majors 3 times before dropping out of college completely. My parents still paid his rent while he figured things out. He crashed 2 cars, and somehow those accidents were never his fault. When he quit his job at a tech startup because his boss was a mood killer, my mom cooked his favorite dinner to cheer her baby up. But Jason was charming. The kind of charming that made waitresses laugh at his dumbest jokes and convinced teachers to extend deadlines. He also had a fiancée. I actually liked Lily. She was a nurse, hardworking and kind, the type of person who remembered everyone's birthday. I never understood why she was with Jason, but she seemed happy, and she treated me like a real person, not a background character in Jason's life story. They got engaged on New Year's Eve, under fireworks in downtown Denver. There were photos all over Instagram, my mom crying, Jason on one knee, Lily wearing this gorgeous vintage-style ring his grandmother had once owned. Within a week, my mom had a Pinterest board called Jason and Amp Lily's Dream Wedding and a notebook full of ideas. I thought it was sweet, until it wasn't. The day everything snapped, it was just the 4 of us at home. Dad had called a family meeting, which honestly never meant anything good. We sat around the table. Jason wasn't there, he was busy at Lily's apartment, which usually meant playing video games while she cooked. Dad cleared his throat like he was starting a business presentation. "So, we have some exciting news," he said. "Jason and Lily have booked their wedding venue." Mom clasped her hands together. "It's beautiful, Em. A winery in the foothills. September, peak fall colors. It's going to be magical." "That sounds nice," I said, polite but distracted. I was still glowing from the email I'd gotten 2 days earlier. An offer of a small merit scholarship from the university. Dad went on. "The thing is, venues like that require significant deposits, and with the economy the way it is, my bonus this year was smaller than expected." I felt a tiny chill, the kind you get when you know a horror scene is coming, and the movie hasn't shown it yet. Mom's smile was tight. "We've been looking at our finances. We had to make some tough choices, but we did what's best for the family." I remember staring at them and saying, slowly, "What does that mean?" That's when Mom slid the folder toward me. "Your dad and I decided to temporarily repurpose your college fund," she said. "Just to cover the big wedding expenses. We'll rebuild it, of course. You can always take out loans for the first year, and by the time you're a junior, we'll have everything back in place." I opened the folder with numb fingers. $40,000, I whispered. "You took $40,000. Dad frowned like I was being unreasonable. "It's not gone, honey. It's invested in Jason's future, in our family's unity. This wedding is important, and Jason doesn't have the resources you do." I laughed, a short, broken sound. "Resources? I work 16 hours a week at the grocery store. Jason quits jobs because his boss kills the vibe. Mom sighed. He's older. It's his time now. And you're so smart, Emma. You'll get scholarships. You always land on your feet. But my throat felt tight. That money was mine. You promised. My whole life you promised. Dad shrugged. We're your parents. It's our money. Legally, the account was in my name anyway. We didn't do anything wrong. You did something horrible, I said quietly. Mom's voice hardened. Don't be dramatic. Do you want your brother to start his marriage in debt? Do you want Lily's parents to think we don't care? I stared at both of them, looking for any sign that they realized what they'd done. I saw nothing but self-righteousness. Family comes first, Mom repeated. You'll understand one day when you have children of your own. That was when I realized the truth. In this family, family meant Jason. And I was just extra. I closed the folder and slid it back. Okay, I said, and forced my face into something that might pass as a smile. I get it. Mom visibly relaxed. Dad nodded in relief. They had no idea I meant I get it. And I'm done. For the next few days, I pretended everything was fine. I went to school, I worked my shifts, I even helped my mom go through wedding magazines. I circled cake designs and bridesmaid dresses like nothing had changed. But I was watching. And listening. I noticed how every conversation at home became about the wedding. How Mom said things like, we all have to chip in for Jason's big day, as if draining my future was just another chore I was refusing to do. Jason still didn't know about the college fund apparently. Or if he did, he didn't care. He kept talking about upgrading the bar package at the venue, adding a live band, flying in his college buddies. One night, he came by for dinner, and my parents told him, casually, don't worry about the deposit anymore, it's taken care of. Jason grinned. Sick. I knew you guys would come through. He didn't even ask how. He just accepted it as his birthright. Lily noticed my silence. After dinner, as I was loading the dishwasher, she came to stand beside me. You've been quiet lately, she said. You okay? I shrugged. Senior year. Lots on my mind. You want to talk about it? The thing is, I almost told her right then. I almost said, my parents stole my future to fund your fairy tale wedding. But something held me back. Instead, I asked, are you excited? About the wedding? Her smile flickered. Yeah, it's just a lot. My parents are freaking out about money. Your parents are already spending so much. And Jason? Well, Jason has ideas. I gave a little half laugh. Jason always has ideas. She hesitated. Sometimes I wonder if we should just go to the courthouse, you know? Keep it simple. But Jason says a big wedding is important to your parents, and I don't want to start a war. There it was again. Everyone tiptoeing around Jason's comfort like it was some sacred relic. I turned to her. Lily, if you ever feel like you're being pressured into something you don't want, you can talk to me. About anything, okay? She looked at me for a long second, then nodded slowly. Thanks, Em. 2 weeks later, I got my first piece of leverage. It was a Tuesday night. Jason had stopped by the house to pick up some mail. He tossed his phone on the couch while he went to the bathroom. Normally I wouldn't touch anyone's phone, but it buzzed 3 times in a row, lighting up with the same name each time. Brittany Kissmark. I didn't think I just picked it up and glanced at the screen. The preview showed the end of a text, can't wait to be in your arms again. Last night was insane face blowing a kiss my stomach lurched. I tapped the screen. It opened to a thread of messages that left no room for misunderstanding. Brittany wasn't a friend. She wasn't a coworker. She was someone else. The last message Jason had sent said, I'll tell Lily I'm working late. Hotel on Friday? I dropped the phone like it burned. When Jason came back, I was sitting on the chair, pretending to scroll through my own messages. He grabbed his phone, glanced at the screen, and his eyes flicked up to me. Just for a second, too quick for most people to notice. But I'm not most people. He knew I'd seen something. And he knew I knew. Gotta run, he said lightly. Tell Mom I'll call her tomorrow about the caterer. He left without giving me time to respond. I sat there for a moment, heart pounding, and then I did something I'd never done before in my life. I snooped. Jason used the same stupid password for everything. Our dog's name and his jersey number from high school. I knew it because he'd shouted it across the room once when our dad helped him set up his laptop. That night, when my parents went to bed, I opened the family computer and logged into Jason's cloud backup. What I found made my hands shake with a mixture of rage and cold, sharp focus. There were messages with Brittany going back 6 months. Hotel receipts, selfies. Even a photo of a necklace he'd bought her the same style as the one he'd promised to get Lily for their 6-month engagement anniversary, but nicer. He wasn't just cheating. He was investing in his side relationship. I downloaded everything. Screenshots of the worst messages. Receipts. A photo of Jason and Brittany kissing in a mirror. Then I created a folder on a USB drive and labeled it, simply, Insurance. For a day or two, I walked around like I had a live grenade in my pocket. I thought about marching straight over to Lily's place and dropping the bomb. I imagined sending the photos to my parents' group chat. I fantasized about printing them out and scattering them on the tables at the wedding venue. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized something important. If I just exposed Jason in a burst of anger, my parents would blame me for ruining everything. They'd comfort him, spin the story, maybe even stay on his side if Lily left. And my college fund? That was gone either way. I didn't just want to reveal the truth. I wanted consequences. I wanted them to feel, even for a moment, like I had when I saw that zero in my account. So I started planning. First, I had to confirm something. Did Lily suspect anything? I texted her. Hey, can we grab coffee after school tomorrow? Just us? She replied almost immediately. Sure. Everything okay? Yeah, I lied. Just girl talk. We met at a cafe near her hospital. She showed up in scrubs, tired but smiling. We chatted about school, her work, the wedding. When I asked how things were with Jason, she hesitated, then gave a carefully neutral answer. Fine. He's stressed about money, but who isn't, right? He's still at the same job. I asked. She bit her lip. He quit last week, said it was toxic. He's looking for something better. Did he tell my parents? I said, even though I already knew the answer. Not yet. He says your dad worries too much. She stirred her coffee. Honestly, sometimes I feel like I'm the only adult in this relationship. Then she laughed it off, but her eyes didn't. I studied her for a moment. Lily, I said softly, if Jason ever did something that crossed a line, would you want to know? Even if it hurt? She looked up sharply. What are you asking me? I swallowed. This was my moment. I could dump everything right here. But I remembered my parents' words. Family comes first. You'll understand when you're older. I thought about the smug certainty in their voices, the way they dismissed my pain as drama. I didn't just want to save Lily, though she deserved that. I wanted my parents to see who their golden boy really was, in front of everyone they were trying to impress. So instead, I said, I'm asking because I care about you, and sometimes I worry Jason takes you for granted. Her shoulders relaxed a little. You and me both. We talked for another half hour. When we said goodbye, she hugged me tightly. You're gonna do amazing in college, she said. You're the smartest person I know. Something twisted in my chest. I almost blurted out, about that, but I didn't. Not yet. Back home, the wedding machine kept rolling. There were cake tastings, dress fittings, venue visits. Mom started using phrases like, when we walk Jason down the aisle, as if she and Dad were the main event. I played along. I smiled. I asked questions. And in the background, I built my plan. Step 1 was simple. Gather more evidence. I wanted there to be no way anyone could claim I was confused or jealous or making drama. I set up a dummy email account and forwarded every incriminating screenshot to it. I printed a few key photos and kept them in a notebook under my mattress. Step 2. Figure out the money logistics. I did something my parents never expected from their good girl daughter. I went to the bank. I sat down with a tired-looking woman in a blazer and asked, very calmly, if my parents emptied a custodial account that was supposed to be for my college, without telling me, is there anything I can do? She looked sympathetic but shook her head. Legally, if the account was in your father's name, it's his asset. There's no law against a parent changing their mind about how they use funds, unless there's a court order involved. So they can just take it? I asked. I'm afraid so, she said. I thanked her and walked out, mind racing. I couldn't get the money back by force. but maybe I could make them want to give it back. Step 3. Timing. If I exposed Jason too early, the wedding would be canceled, sure. But my parents might still have time to recoup some costs. They could spin things, blame Lily, maybe even reschedule. If I waited too long, I might lose my nerve. Or Jason might slip up in a way that hurt Lily even more. I narrowed it down to one specific moment: the rehearsal dinner. Big enough audience. Close enough to the wedding day that most of the money was non-refundable. Public enough that my parents couldn't quietly sweep it under the rug. I circled the date on my calendar and wrote one word beneath it in red ink: payback. The weeks leading up to the rehearsal were weird. On the surface, life went on. I studied for finals. I worked. I pretended to research dorm options for the fall I wasn't sure I'd get to have. At home, my parents talked about centerpieces and seating charts and the special dance Mom wanted to do with Jason. They occasionally made comments about my college situation. "We'll sit down after the wedding and look at your options," Dad would say. "There are community colleges. Gap years. It's not the end of the world." "I went to college later in life and I turned out fine," Mom would add, as if fine was a bar I'd ever wanted to reach. Jason stayed slick and charming. He'd ruffle my hair when he walked by, call me kiddo, ask if I was ready to party at his wedding. I never answered. I just watched him. One night, a week before the rehearsal, I overheard my parents talking in the kitchen. "We're in deep now," Dad was saying, his voice low. "Between the venue, the photographer, the dress, the catering. If this thing fell through, we'd be screwed." "It won't," Mom said firmly. "Lily is sweet. Jason loves her. They're perfect together." Dad hesitated. "Have you noticed Emma lately? Something's off with her." Mom snorted. "She's being dramatic. She thinks we stole from her." She actually used air quotes on the word stole. I could hear it in her voice. "She'll get over it. She always does. She's not like Jason, she doesn't hold grudges." I held mine tighter. 2 days before the rehearsal, I texted Lily. "Hey, random question, do you guys have anyone lined up to make a slideshow for the rehearsal dinner? You know, cute baby photos, etc. I'm pretty good with that stuff." She replied with a string of heart emojis. "OMG, that would be amazing. I was going to ask your mom, but she's so busy already." "You'd really do that?" "Of course," I wrote. "You're practically my big sister already." I felt a strange pang typing that, knowing what I was planning. But if I didn't do this, Lily would be marrying a liar using money stolen from me. Sometimes there isn't a clean option. Just choices between different kinds of pain. I asked her to send me any photos she wanted included. She happily flooded my inbox with childhood pictures, shots of her and Jason, and a few from our family vacations. I downloaded all of them. Then I opened my own secret folder. The slideshow took me hours. I lined up images of Jason as a kid, photos of him and Lily laughing, little clips from holiday videos. And, near the end, I inserted 4 new slides. They were simple. A text thread screenshot, a hotel receipt with Jason's name and Brittany's, a photo of them together, and one last image, my college account statement. The balance glaring 0. Over each of those slides, in big white letters, I typed, "The man you're marrying. The money they used. The sister they sacrificed." I set the slideshow to autoplay. There would be no last-minute edits. The day of the rehearsal dinner, the sky was unnaturally clear. I remember thinking it was almost offensive, how pretty everything looked. The restaurant was classy but not too fancy, with fairy lights strung across the ceiling and long tables set with white linens. There was a projector set up in one corner, screen rolled down, waiting. Guests arrived in waves. Lily's parents, sweet and nervous Jason's friends, loud and excited my grandparents, who hugged me a little too hard and told me how proud they were of my college acceptance. I swallowed the lump in my throat and smiled. My parents buzzed around like hosts of some reality show about perfect families. Mom wore a new dress. Dad kept joking about how expensive kids are these days. Jason looked like he'd stepped out of a men's fashion catalog tailored shirt, smug grin. Lily was glowing, her hair twisted into a soft updo, eyes shining. At one point, she pulled me aside. "Thank you again for doing the slideshow," she said. "Jason is terrible with tech stuff. You're seriously saving the day." I almost told her right then. There was still time to stop the train before it hit the bridge. Instead, I said, "You deserve to know the truth about the people you're marrying into." She laughed, not catching the seriousness in my tone. "I'm marrying Jason, not his family," she said. I thought, "We'll see." Dinner went as expected. Toasts, jokes, a few sentimental stories. My dad gave a speech about how proud he was of Jason. My mom cried. Jason cracked a joke about finally leaving the nest. Then the restaurant manager dimmed the lights. And now, my dad announced, Emma has put together something special for her big brother and future sister-in-law. All eyes turned to me. My hands were shaking as I walked to the laptop connected to the projector. I could feel my parents' pride, Jason's smugness, Lily's excitement radiating behind me. I clicked play. Soft music started, an acoustic version of a pop song Lily loved. The first images were innocent. Jason as a baby, Lily as a toddler, awkward middle school photos. People laughed and awed. As the slideshow progressed, I felt my heartbeat in my throat. There was no turning back now. Jason as a teenager. Lily at her nursing school graduation. Jason and Lily on their first date, according to the caption she'd sent. Then the later photos. Holidays, family dinners, the engagement. I watched my parents' silhouettes in the dim light. Their heads were close together, proud. And then, my slide started. The music kept playing, but the mood shifted instantly. On the screen, a cropped screenshot of a text. "Last night was insane, face blowing a kiss, can't wait for Friday. I'll tell Lily I'm working late." At first, there was confusion. People squinted. Someone whispered, "What's that?" The next slide, Jason and Brittany in a hotel mirror, his hand on her waist, lips inches apart, date stamp from just 3 weeks earlier. The room fell completely silent. The third slide, the hotel receipt, both their names clearly visible. Lily's mother gasped, a sharp, wounded sound. Jason shot to his feet. "Turn that off," he snapped. I didn't. The final image flashed up. My college account statement, balance, $0. In the corner, in smaller text, transferred to wedding expenses account holder, Robert and Aunt Susan Miller. Over it my words glowed. The sister they sacrificed. The music stopped. I hadn't planned that the track just happened to end there. It felt cinematic. For a heartbeat, nobody moved. Then the room exploded. "What the hell is this?" Jason shouted, striding toward me, face red. "Are you out of your mind?" My dad turned to the guests, hands raised. "Everyone, there's clearly been some kind of misunderstanding, turn it off." My mom yelled at me, eyes wild. I clicked the spacebar. The last image froze on the screen, as if it were carved in stone. "I think they understand just fine," I said quietly. Lily was staring at the projection, her face drained of color. Her hands were shaking. "Jason," she whispered, "is this real?" He whipped around. "No, of course not. It's Photoshop. Emma's always been jealous of what?" I cut in. My voice surprised even me, calm, clear. "Of you cheating on your fiancé for 6 months? Of my parents stealing my college fund to pay for your dream wedding?" The word stealing hung in the air like smoke. Lily's dad stood up, fists clenched. "Robert, Susan, is that document real?" My parents looked like they'd been slapped. Dad stammered, We did reallocate some funds, but it's all within our rights, and so it is real," Lily's mom said softly, eyes filling with tears. "You used your daughter's college money to fund this wedding?" "It's not that simple," Mom protested. "We were going to pay it back, and Emma said she understood. And this," she gestured wildly at the screen, "this is an overreaction. She's always been sensitive." "The texts," Lily said, voice shaking. "The photos. Jason, look me in the eye and tell me they're fake." He hesitated. Just for a second. But it was enough. Lily's shoulders slumped, as if some invisible weight had finally crashed down. "Oh my God," she whispered. "I knew something was wrong. I just didn't want to see it." She turned to me. "Did you know?" she asked. "How long?" "About 2 weeks," I said honestly. "I was looking for a way to show you and everyone else who he really is." Jason lunged toward me, but my grandfather stepped between us, surprisingly fast for a 72-year-old man. "You lay one hand on her and I'll forget I ever loved you as a grandson," he said quietly. Jason froze. Lily's dad addressed the room. I'm sorry, everyone, he said. His voice wavered only slightly. There will be no wedding. Not tomorrow. Not ever. Please finish your meals and then. I think this evening is over. Lily looked at me again, tears running silently down her cheeks. Thank you, she whispered. I hate that I had to find out like this. But. She took off her engagement ring, placed it on the table, and walked out with her parents. Jason collapsed into a chair, face in his hands. My mom turned on me, eyes blazing. How could you do this? She hissed. You humiliated us. In front of everyone. You destroyed your brother's life. I felt something inside me finally snap, not loudly, but like a thread that had been pulled too tight for too long. I didn't destroy anything, I said. Jason did when he cheated. You did, when you stole my future to pay for his lies. I just turned on the lights. Some guests were watching. Others were quietly gathering their things, desperate to escape the awkwardness. My dad grabbed my arm. You and I are going to talk. Right now. I shook him off. No. I'm done talking to people who don't listen. I'm going home. To pack. Pack? Mom repeated, voice rising. Pack for where? For college, I said. With or without your help. I didn't actually know how I was going to pull that off. But anger has a way of giving you confidence you didn't know you had. I left the restaurant and walked the mile home, heels in my hand, cool night air on my face. I expected my parents to beat me there, but they didn't. When I walked into the quiet house, I went straight to my room and pulled out the backup envelope from under my mattress. Inside was $1,000 in tips and extra shifts I'd saved over the past year, just in case. It wasn't much, but it was something. I started packing a suitcase with essentials, clothes, laptop, acceptance letters, scholarship info. I had no concrete plan beyond get out. Half an hour later, the front door slammed. My parents stormed into my room without knocking. How dare you, Dad said. His voice was low, tightly controlled. That was always worse than his yelling. You embarrassed us in front of everyone we know, Mom added. Lily's parents will never speak to us again. We've lost deposits, made enemies, and for what? Some teenage tantrum about money? About my future, I corrected. About your golden boy getting everything he wants while I clean up the mess. Dad folded his arms. We sacrificed for you your whole life. Food, housing, clothes, that's called parenting, I snapped. You don't get a medal for giving your kid a bed. And let's talk about sacrifice. I took extra shifts, maintained straight A's, did everything right. You took the one thing I'd been counting on and handed it to Jason like a party favor. Mom's eyes filled with tears, but I'd stopped being moved by her crying years ago. You could have talked to us, she said. We could have found a compromise. I tried, I said quietly. You called me dramatic. There was a long silence. Dad finally said, What do you want, Emma? The question took me by surprise, not because he'd never asked it before, but because I realized I finally had an answer. I want control over my own life, I said. I want my college fund back, as much of it as you can scrape together. I want it in an account I control, and I want you to admit, out loud, that what you did was wrong. To me, and to Lily. Dad's jaw tightened. We can't undo what happened tonight. But you owe us an apology. No, I interrupted. I don't. Not anymore. I picked up my suitcase and walked past them. Where do you think you're going? Mom cried. To Aunt Rachel's, I said. She texted me after the slideshow. She said if I ever needed a place to stay, her guest room is open. At least one person in this family can see clearly. You are not leaving this house. Dad shouted. If you try to stop me, I said calmly. I'll send every screenshot I have to everyone who was at that dinner. And to Aunt Rachel. And to Grandma and Grandpa. And I'll tell them exactly why my college fund disappeared. We stared at each other. For once, he backed down. Aunt Rachel lived 30 minutes away in a small townhouse that always smelled like coffee and paint. She was my mom's younger sister, the free spirit of the family, according to my grandparents. Translation: she'd moved out at 19, traveled, worked odd jobs, never married, and somehow managed to be happier than anyone else. When I showed up at her door with a suitcase and puffy eyes, she didn't ask many questions. She just hugged me and made tea. Later that night, after I'd told her everything, she leaned back in her armchair and exhaled slowly. I knew your parents favored Jason, she said. But this This is next level. What do I do? I asked. My voice sounded small. She thought for a minute. You apply for every scholarship under the sun, she said. You talk to the financial aid office at your university. You look into work-study programs. I'll help where I can. I don't have a ton, but I've got some savings. And as for your parents, she smiled, but there was steel in it. I'll talk to them. The next few days were a blur of paperwork and awkward phone calls. The wedding was officially canceled. Word spread quickly, not just about the cheating but about the college fund. Small towns are efficient that way. My grandparents called me first. We're so sorry, sweetheart, Grandma said. We had no idea they touched your fund. If we'd known it's okay, Grandma, I said. It's not your fault. Grandpa cleared his throat. We've been rethinking some things. We set aside some money for you and Jason in our will, but after what we've learned, we'd like to give you a portion now, for school. I blinked. What? You don't have to, we want to, Grandma said firmly. And don't you dare tell your parents yet. Let us handle that. Between my grandparents' help, a few small scholarships I hustled to apply for, and the university's need-based aid once they saw my new independent status, the picture started to look possible. Not easy. I'd still need loans, still need to work, but college was back on the table. Meanwhile, Aunt Rachel did what she promised. She met my parents for coffee. I wasn't there, but she told me later how it went. I laid it out, she said. Told them they crossed a line. That they owe you not just money but respect. They cried, they yelled, they blamed you for humiliating them, but eventually, they listened. A little. Do they hate me? I asked. She shook her head. They're ashamed. They don't know how to admit it yet, so they're wearing it as anger. But that's not your problem to fix. A week later, my dad called. We've moved some things around, he said stiffly. We can put $20,000 back into a new account. In your name this time. It's not everything, but it's what we can manage without losing the house. For a second, I wanted to say keep it. To cut them off completely. But I thought about future me, working 2 jobs while drowning in loans because present me wanted to make a point. So I said, thank you, I appreciate it. I'll have the bank send me the paperwork. He was quiet for a moment. I'm sorry, Emma, he said finally. The words sounded strange in his mouth. We thought we were doing what was best for the family. We didn't see you. That's the problem, I said. You still think family means Jason first, everyone else later. I hope one day that changes. But until then, I need some distance. Mom called too later. She cried a lot, said she missed me. Said things like, you'll understand when you're a mother. Maybe she was right. Maybe someday I would understand why a parent would sacrifice one child for another. Or maybe I'd just make sure I never did the same. As for Jason, he didn't call. Not once. I heard from others that he'd moved into a crappy apartment with a friend, that he was bouncing between gigs, that he'd tried to spin the story about the cheating as a misunderstanding. Lily, however, did call. Hey, she said tentative. Do you have a minute? Of course, I said. How are you? She laughed, a short, bitter sound. Not great. But also, better than I'd be if I'd married him. We talked for almost an hour. She told me how embarrassed she'd been at first, how angry, how stupid she felt for not seeing the signs. I kept thinking about all the little red flags, she said. Him hiding his phone, canceling plans last minute, working late when he didn't even like his job. I just didn't want it to be true. You loved him, I said. That makes people blind sometimes. She was quiet for a moment. Your slideshow was brutal, she said at last. But it was clear. I couldn't pretend anymore. So? Thank you. I'm sorry they used your college fund. You didn't deserve that. Neither did you, I said. We kept in touch after that. Not best friends, exactly, but something real. A kind of strange sisterhood forged in betrayal. In August, I moved into my dorm. Aunt Rachel drove me, her car stuffed with thrift store finds and care packages from Grandma. When we pulled up in front of the brick building, I felt something inside me loosen, like a knot I hadn't realized I'd been carrying. I was terrified. Tuition bills still made my stomach drop. I knew the next 4 years would be hard. But I also knew one thing for sure. They were mine. My parents came too. They helped carry boxes, made small talk with my roommate's family. Mom cried when she saw my bed made up, said it made it real. At one point, while Aunt Rachel was downstairs filling out parking forms, Dad pulled me aside. You know, he said, not quite looking at me, we've been trying to do better. With Jason, holding him accountable, making him pay back some of what we spent. It's a work in progress. I nodded. That's good. He cleared his throat. You taught us something. Even if we didn't want to learn it. We stood there for a moment, the air thick with all the things we weren't saying. Then Mom hugged me, whispering, "We love you no matter what." I believed her. Sort of. But I also believed my own eyes now. As they left, I felt a strange mixture of sadness and relief. I wasn't the good girl anymore, the quiet one who swallowed everything. I was the girl who'd turned on the lights at her brother's rehearsal dinner, consequences be damned. Did I regret it? Sometimes, in the middle of the night, I'd think about Lily's face when those photos came up on the screen and feel a pang of guilt. I wished I could have protected her without hurting her so publicly. But then I'd remember the zero in my account, the way my parents had smiled as they explained how my future was a family investment, how Jason had grinned when he heard the deposit was taken care of. I didn't regret it. Because here's what I've learned. When people decide your dreams are optional so they can fund someone else's fantasy, they don't stop until you make them. Sometimes, the only way to be seen in a family that keeps you in the shadows, is to flip on every light in the room and let the truth burn. And if that truth ruins a perfect day for them? They ruined years of my life first.